Looking to improve your life, brush up on your personal growth techniques? You are in the right place. Welcome to Life's Little Lessons with your host, author of Designing Your Own Destiny, Kevin A. Dunlap.
Hello, everybody. This is Kevin Dunlap with Life's Little Lessons, and welcome back to our show. Today, I have a lady that I just met a couple of weeks ago at a big conference we met there. We've talked actually a few times at this conference, and after talking with her and finding out what it is that she does, is something that somebody I actually wanted to have on our show. So today, I have a lady by the name of Michelle Manire. She has a company called Coast to Coast Conferences and Events, and what she calls herself is a strategic event manager. So we're going to love to find out more on what she has to do, because Coast to Coast Conferences, it sounds like something that services that I may be needing to employ or use here in the near future, and maybe you do as well. So again, I'd like to welcome to the show, Michelle Manire. Michelle, welcome to our show today.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's great to be here with you and your audience.
Well, I'm glad. I'm sure they're all going to learn a lot about about what is it that you do. Now, Michelle, with this Coast to Coast Conferences and Events, what is that, and why do you do this?
Okay. Well, Coast to Coast Conferences and Events is the third iteration of what used to be Catalina Travel Connection. So I've had the company for 24 years, and we started as Catalina Travel Connection, and we were doing individual packages and groups to Catalina Island because nobody was doing it at the time. Once we started that, it was very successful, but obviously our clients wanted to go other locations besides the island, so we rebranded to CTC, Destination and Meeting Management, and rebranded again because we're doing events and meetings all over the country. So we rebranded to Coast to Coast Conferences and Events. Coast to Coast has three distinct divisions. One is hotel sourcing and contract negotiations, and we provide that service to our clients at no cost to them. We receive a commission from the hotel, and that's how we get paid. We also do events, and we'll do anything from a small 200-person event to 10,000 plus. And we do events such as Mr. America All-American Sports Festival, or Longines Masters of Los Angeles, which is a premier indoor horse jumping show. We're also doing the aquatic games for Tony Azevedo, who just recently retired from the captain of the water polo Olympic team. And then thirdly, we do full conference management, from staging, production, food and beverage, audio-visual, transportation, housing, anything related to putting on a conference.
And how long have you been doing the conference section of it?
We've been doing all of it really for 24 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And prior to that, I was in the hotel business. I was a first woman general manager for 2 hotel chains, and that's where I started in. I started in the hotel business in the hospitality industry. That originally was where I put my foot in the water, so to speak, in this industry.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. And the fact that you were in the industry before, now you're on the other side. You're dealing with the
right.
hotel managers and things like that. You understand what they can and
yes,
can't do.
Exactly. It's very beneficial to have both sides of the fence. Yes.
So if somebody, so you say you mainly deal with conferences that are 200 or more people, is what you're.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So if myself, I live here in Las Vegas. Now, would you do local to where the entertainment is, or does the location really even matter to you at all?
The location doesn't matter. We're all over the country: Tampa, Chicago, New York, anywhere our clients want to go. And we have national partnerships, so we know people all over the country. And what's beneficial to our clients is that we're able to save them quite a bit of money through our national partnerships and our negotiation skills. The other thing that we're really good at is helping our clients identify other revenue streams that they may not have thought about that can be added as a source of revenue to their events. So those are things that really set us a little bit apart, because we really want to have a positive impact on their bottom line.
Okay, what kind of revenue streams, or are you able to disclose that kind
of? Oh, well, I mean, it's nothing that you probably don't already know, but just never thought about connecting it. It could be rebates, negotiated rebates that go back to the master account. It could be exhibitors, exhibitor fees and taking a share of what they sell. It could be sponsorship. I mean, there's just a variety of revenue streams that people really don't think about. They just think about registration fee. And that's not always the only revenue stream that can be developed for them.
Okay, because we were just at the here in Las Vegas at the Green Valley Ranch Casino, and the event we had, and the host, the lady that was in charge of it all, she had quite a few different sponsors that were there
Yes,
as well.
and that wasn't free.
Yes, I know. Well, we have a mutual friend. My friend Diane was there, and
Yeah,
I know I don't know how much she paid, but I know she paid
it's
1,000.
yeah, it's quite yeah, it can be quite a bit, but you know, if it's the target market, you can do a lot of business also. So that's the thing you want to be careful of is when you are going to be exhibiting, make sure it's your right target market that you're trying to solicit to. And also, you know, when you have people up on the stage like Allison did, there's a percentage of what those sales are that goes back to Pinnacle. So those are other ways that you can generate additional income.
Okay, yeah, because I've been to a few events that had multiple speakers in the front of the room, and actually even selling their own their own
Hmm.
services from the front.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of figured it was like between 25 and 50% of their overall
Yes,
sales
yes.
would go back.
There's nothing left to chance. There is a formula and a model. And that's what I would encourage anybody that's starting to get into wanting to speak and develop their own product is really research that before you do it, because you want to make sure you're monetizing your time, you're putting money in your pocket. So start small with a workshop. Don't go crazy and do a big conference right off the bat. I really encourage that because you could easily lose a lot of money if you don't have your product developed and you don't have the audience to support it.
Well, because I think I heard Allison say, because you just mentioned her name,
Mhm.
um, say that I think when she was getting the room at the Green Valley Ranch, I think the room was free if she had so many people make reservations for the hotel.
Well, it's called food and beverage minimum for the meeting room. So if you spend a certain amount of money in food and beverage, then you should be able to negotiate free meeting space.
Okay. Now, is hotel accommodation usually a part of that as well, or
Hotel, pardon me?
let's say you say to be able to get the room for free, she would have to get at least 100 people registered at the hotel to spend the night there.
Well, I mean, they're really two different things. I mean, obviously the most profitable area for a hotel are sleeping rooms,
Hmm.
and they typically are 75% profit, whereas food and beverage is 30 to 35% profit. So obviously they do want sleeping rooms, and the space that they provide to you or allocate to you is based on how many sleeping rooms that you have. So you want to make sure that that's comparable to how many rooms that you're bringing into the hotel.
Okay, because we were just talking about that. Is that if I was going to put on an event, and let's say I needed to have 150 rooms to
Hmm.
get that, and if I don't hit that minimum, then I would be responsible for the difference.
So that is something you need to be very, very careful about, and that's called attrition. And attrition, what that is that if you say you're going to bring in 100 rooms and the attrition is 80%, then you've got to bring in 80 rooms. If you don't, then you're going to be liable for those rooms that are less. So if you pick up 75, then you're responsible for the 5 that you didn't make, the 5 rooms. So what we try to do, and a lot of times we're very successful, is a courtesy block so that there's no financial liability for the client. And we may start with a smaller block of rooms, but they're willing to do it with a smaller block of rooms, and then we can go back to the hotel and add additional rooms if we need them. But the most important thing, and the thing that we are really adamant about, is keeping our clients out of any financial liability situations. Because I've seen some nightmares where administrative people are assigned to book an event or a meeting, and they don't know how to read a contract. And the contracts from the hotels are very one-sided. It's all win for the hotel, lose for the client. So you've got to make sure that whoever is looking at your contract, that you know what you're looking at, and that you're making sure that you're adding clauses that are pro-client. And so we have, a lot of times we have our own contracts that we have our hotel partners sign, or if we sign theirs, we include our clauses that protect our clients.
Okay. Well, I've also been in real estate, so we'd be kind of like an addendum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
There's a lot of moving parts to this. So you got to know what you're doing, because I've seen attrition issues where I will be given a contract that's already passed, that the event's passed, and the company is liable for $15,000 of attrition. And just because I'm an expert in this, they'll give it to me after the fact and see if I can help the client kind of negotiate something that's more palatable than just handing over $15,000.
okay, and because now, I guess as far as I say fee structure, because I am very curious about this, because I am getting into the speaking circuit, so I will be needing services like yours, probably with in the not too distant future. Now, you said now, which party pays your fees, or is it paid on both sides, or?
Well, it depends on what services that a client is asking for. We can certainly provide a la carte services if they don't need full services. So when it comes to hotel sourcing and contract negotiations, the hotel pays a 10%, did pay 10% commission. I don't know if you've heard Marriott and Starwood just reduced their commission from 10% to 7%. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. It seems like it's a bit like when the airlines stopped paying commissions. One stopped paying commissions or reduced their commissions, then the rest of them followed suit. So I'm not sure what's going to happen in our industry. This is the first bold step that has happened in our industry regarding commissions. And it's very significant, and it's very detrimental to a lot of event planning companies that all they do is sourcing. That's 30% off, 30% revenue that they will not be provided through Marriott and Starwood, and they happen to be the big gorilla in the room. They have the largest inventory worldwide. So it's going to be hard not to utilize those hotels, because they're everywhere. So that.
As an event planner, the first thing I would think that you guys would do is not use their hotels if at all possible.
Yeah, if but it depends on what the client wants, So we are making sure that whatever the client wants and what's the best fit for their program, it may be a Marriott, it may be a Starwood. So it's going to be interesting to see how this evolves. And it's not in, I think March 1st is when this starts.
Oh, wow. So it's in the real near future.
It's very new. Yes. And yes.
Well, one of the things, and that happened here in Las Vegas, it's not really all that, it's somewhat related, but it's not related, is on the Strip. I would say probably a third, if not half, if not more of the casinos on the Strip are now charging to park. And it used to be free parking for the guests and whatever. Now the guests, they're still paying the hotel tax. They're still paying all these taxes. Now they got to pay per day to park. Or let's say if I was going to take you to dinner and say, hey, let's go to the MGM. Well, now we're paying an additional charge for parking. And a friend of mine, I think she works at the MGM or one of the casinos, that reduced like her services by almost by half. And she was a massage therapist. She would give you a massage at the poker table. So there's less people gambling, therefore less people asking for massages, and then tips went down as a direct cause because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. And this is the first time this has happened in our industry related to hotel commissions. So stand by, because that's going to impact, what we pass on to the client. Currently, we're not charging the client. We also add Passkey, which is a state-of-the-art technology to manage hotel reservations. So we build that out internally, and the client has access to real time how many rooms are being picked up by their attendees. And we manage the inventory internally, and we have support lines that come into our office for attendees that have questions regarding their hotel reservations.
Now, would you say that most attendees actually go through the host links to get their hotel rooms, or have you seen, or are you aware if people are actually to say, I know it's going to be at the Marriott, so I'll call the Marriott myself, and let's say I don't tell the front desk I was part of, say, Allison's event.
Yes.
And then that doesn't get counted as part of the room count.
Yeah, and that really hurts, and that does happen all the time. And there are different sources. They may use their Marriott hotel points or any of the hotel chains that they reward points, but that still gets credited to the room block. They may go on Expedia or Travelocity, and they may find a lower rated room. If it's a large conference, we put into the contract that it has to be the lowest rate available. Now, does that always happen? No, it doesn't. So we audit the hotels to make sure that that doesn't happen, because if our attendees are getting a lower rate through Expedia or Travelocity, that causes problems with other attendees. If they go, well, I've got a low rate at Expedia, and we're supposed to have the lowest rate, and that's what we're promoting, that is a bit of a problem. So we're auditing the hotels regularly that we're working with, and we're letting them know that they need to change the inventory in those web portals. And there are only a handful of rooms in those web portals. It's not like there are hundreds of rooms that are there for sale, but it still is an issue. There's also an issue with poachers, which are companies that research on the internet what conferences are happening, what exhibitors are going to be there. We'll call them and tell them that they are the authorized housing company. And that's another way that things get pulled away from the room block. And these companies are not reputable. They may book your reservation and take your money, and you may not have a hotel reservation when you get there. So that has been a really big issue the last several years.
But wouldn't that be considered, wouldn't that even be not borderline illegal? Wouldn't that just be illegal because it's false advertising? It's
but they don't. Yeah. But they don't stop. I mean, I've called them. I've had attorneys send letters, but that's their livelihood, and it's very difficult to stop. And several of the companies are in Las Vegas, as a matter of fact. Go figure. But you just need to make sure that on your webpage, on your conference webpage, that you say, be aware of the scam artists. And we would never reach out to clients or exhibitors to call them to book their reservations. So if somebody's calling you, you know that it's not legal or not legit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, because I have seen that on other conferences that say you get a special room rate, and I just enter in this code or whatever, so that it could be counted. And I had always thought that. I didn't realize it until like a year or two ago that, like what you just said, it's the lowest rate possible, but there's also the room count, for the meeting. I thought most of it was, hey, just at the same hotel that you're going to be attending the conference. That way, you don't have to get in the car and leave and come back. You're already here.
Yeah. Oh no. On both sides, it's all about money, And now hotels. When I was in the hotel business, we didn't have what they call revenue managers. So every piece of business goes through a revenue manager now, who approves the rate, approves the space to make sure that it's compatible. And so that takes the customer service out of it a bit. The salespeople have relationships with their clients. The revenue managers don't. They're just looking at black and white. They're just looking at how valuable is this piece of business.
Okay, and let's say if I was going to be having an event, and let's say I expect 300 people are going to be there, that's my target and what have you. How much advanced knowledge do you need to have to start booking these? Let's just say the lower end, the 200 to 500 size events?
What lead time?
Yeah, lead time. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, we can turn around a conference in a week. I mean, we did an $8 million project in 4 months. It almost brought us to our knees. I wouldn't want to do that every time. But, it really, that doesn't really matter. What I would caution is that it's a seller's market now. So that means that there is more demand than there are hotel rooms in a lot of cities. So the sooner that you know you want to book something, the better off you're going to be in getting better rates, concessions, which are discounts. So the sooner you know, the better off you're going to be for us to negotiate that for you. And
Okay.
if you're flexible on your dates, because if you're flexible, a hotel may have a hole they're trying to fill, and that will also avail you of better rates and discounts.
So what would you, from your years of experience, what would you suggest to somebody that say, I want to put on an event? Let's say I'm going to put it on. I live in Las Vegas. Let's say I'm going to put it on in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do it out of town. Would it be better to try to find space before we advertise the event, or do we start getting an event and have a TBD on the date, or at least the location?
I would recommend, if you haven't done an event before, I would put out a save the date to see what kind of interest you have. You don't want to get locked into a contract if you're not getting synergy from your database and you're not getting traction. Because once you're locked into a contract, you're locked in. There's no getting out of. And there are cancellation clauses in all contracts. So you just want to be really careful that, number one, I know you want to dream big and that you envision having a huge audience, but be very realistic in the numbers. And I would caution to be on the lower side, because you can always go up, but you can't go down. So I would, again, it can be very costly to put on these events, and you want to do it smartly and with a lot of thought. And if this is a zero-based budget event, which means that all of your, how you're going to pay for the event is what is generated at the event, you need to make sure prior to even reaching out to a hotel is identifying what those revenue streams are and estimating what expenses that you are going to incur, and make sure that your conference or your event can support your vision.
Okay. Because I actually, a couple of years ago, I was walking around different hotels here in Las Vegas, talking to the I guess the event planner or whatever. In each hotel we were physically
Sales manager, probably.
Okay. And we were looking at room sizes and costs, and then how much it's going to cost for water, coffee, and bagels or fruit. All those little simple things that I guess most people just take advantage of and they don't think about. We were checking out different casinos for this, and I don't know what number we had, 500 or 1,000 people, and I thought that was way too lofty. Yes, we were going through this, and we were doing this on our own. We did not have people like yourself there, and we never did put on the event. And and this is very, very eye-opening information, because for anybody out there that's listening to the show that's looking to put on an event, I mean, it's very much sounds like hire a professional to help you, somebody that's been there and done that, and have you think about, okay, are you going to come out? I'm assuming we have to put down like an earnest money deposit before the event that would lock in the room. Obviously, that becomes non-refundable if we cancel. So,
yes, there are tiered cancellation clauses in all contracts. And even if you can't afford to hire a conference manager or event planner for the entire event, I would really encourage you to, at least on a consultant basis, and we do this a lot with our clients, if they just want us to take a look at their contracts to make sure that there aren't any issues, red flags, I would encourage that to happen. And also, because there's no cost, that side of it, doing the hotel sourcing, I would have an expert be involved with that. And even if you want to do all the planning of your conference yourself, there's no cost to have an expert do that aspect. If you want to do it yourself, it's very time consuming to source a lot of different hotels. You have an RFP, which is a request for proposal that you have to create and send out to hotels. There is software called Cvent, and there's several others where that software can disseminate to hotels that meet your criteria and then provide a hotel analysis to you. So you're not having to do that by yourself. I mean, you're not having to spend the time and the labor to build that out yourself. So I would encourage you to get to know a meeting planning company or a meeting planner that has that software. And even if it's a small fee, it's going to save you so much time sourcing that it's well worth it.
Okay. And now, are you? I see on your business card here that you're in Long Beach, California. Do you do a lot of events local, or does it really
No, we're national, so we go wherever our clients want to go. So east, west, north, south. We do a little bit in Vancouver, a little bit in Mexico, but predominantly in the States.
Okay. And so you don't physically have to be there. I mean, all you need is
Oh, yeah. It depends. If we're just doing the hotel sourcing and it's a small block of rooms, no, we typically aren't on site. If it's a large, 5,000 room nights for a large event, we would be on site to manage that. If it's a conference or event, we are always on site because we negotiated the contract. We are the logistics people. We don't want our clients worrying about if somebody got a king bed versus 2 double beds. So we want them to pay attention to their sponsors, their VIPs, the attendees that are there, and not think about the logistics of what's going on. That should be seamless.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, because the more you talk, the more I realize like how much I don't know about this industry.
There is a lot to learn in this industry, and information that is really beneficial to not lose a lot of money. So it's just smart to connect with somebody that knows this industry.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Because I'm so glad that a couple of years ago when me and these other 4 people were walking around, it's like, I'm glad we didn't put on that event. However,
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of conferences and I look at things from a logistics perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And how big is the space, like Allison's event?
Mm-hmm.
How big was that versus why are they using round tables instead of theater style seating versus all of these other little nuances that have to be taken into consideration. Like at Allison's event, they used the big round tables, which meant that some people had the tables behind them. So they weren't all that effective. Now I looked at that why did she do that? Is she providing a writing surface, or was the room so big that if it was in theater style seating, it would look like it was almost empty? So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't do a theater style in a situation like that because people were taking notes. Rounds aren't bad as long as they're a serpent. Like if it's a 10 top that you only put 5, and I know she had more than that in that room. Sometimes you do that because you want to put your food and beverage in the same room as your general session to save money. And we've done very eclectic seating before, so not everybody learns the same. So we'll have classroom, we'll have theater, we'll have communal tables, we'll have bean bags, we'll have conversational seating, which are sofas. And so we'll put that all together in a conference room and for people to sit wherever they're comfortable learning. So that's really where the industry is trying to go. It's having a bit of a challenge with it, but it's really innovation. It's not just the box anymore. It's how can we make this interesting, particularly with millennials who are the largest population, bigger than baby boomers. They are very interactive. And how do you make a conference interactive? How do you engage them? It's not sitting there listening to a talking head. They want to be interactive. And so I think that's something that's really important if you're thinking about putting on a conference. How are you going to engage your audience?
Okay. And now if you're doing the whole the entire everything, what is the policy? And I don't know. Hopefully, you can answer this question. But what is the policy in using music on at a conference?
You got to get a license, and they are cracking down on that. And it's not that expensive, but you just need to make sure that you are protected and your client is protected. So I would encourage you to get that license to use that music.
So this would be like a DJ that has a license to do that, or is this
Well, that or it escapes me, but there is that music organization that monitors that, and I can't recall the name of it. But anytime we're using music, we apply for a license to use it, because they will show up at your conference and fine you if you're using it without a license.
Okay, because obviously they walk in, they see a sound engineer in the back. They're going to want to find out if it's just the microphones that he's doing,
Yeah,
or is there
yeah,
music too?
exactly. Yeah, and one thing that you asked me that we didn't get back to is, how do you pay for a conference or an event? And so there are a couple of different ways. There is a management fee for any meeting planner to actually do the logistics of your event. And that can be either on an hourly basis or it could be per project. So you want to make sure that you identify what you're interested in. If you want an hourly fee, and there's different levels of hourly fees based on the experience that you need. An admin may be able to do something that a meeting planner doesn't need to do, so that would reduce the price. So if you're reaching out to a meeting planner to utilize their services, make sure that you ask them how they price their services.
Okay, because there's so much involved in it, and like you said, like with your company, it's a la carte. So I mean, depending on just how involved that you're going to be with that
Exactly.
particular
And,
project.
and we'll be honest with you. I mean, if it's something that we feel, if you're just starting out and it's a smaller event and we think that you can manage aspects of it that would save you money, we're going to tell you that.
Okay.
It's partnership. So that's why we're strategic, is because we want to know your goals and objectives. That's the first step that we always ask. And then we want to make sure that everything that we do is around those goals and objectives and that we're making you successful. So that's really important to us. And a post evaluation is as critically important on at the back end, so that you have a playbook to begin the next conference with. And a lot of planners don't do that step, and it's really, really important.
Well, because I look at you as somebody that, if you were help me out on a conference, and it was a successful conference, then my next one, like Allison, she has it once a year
Mm-hmm.
that I've gone
She
to.
actually has 3 a year, and
Oh,
it's the same planner. Yeah, yeah, and that's what we encourage too. Is that we ask our clients to have a multi-year contract, because the first year is kind of like dating, kind of getting to know each other, until we get into a rhythm of really knowing what you're about and what your company's about and how the best we can help you. So our multi-year contracts are 60-day opt-out after the first year with no penalty, because people are afraid to sign multi-year contracts. So that's how we like to work with our clients. And the other thing that, if I could just say, that is really, really important, is making sure that your planning company has insurance. And that's important to protect you, your company, and frankly, the planning company. There are a lot of people hanging shingles out there and wanting to be planners and don't have a business infrastructure, don't have the protection for their clients and their company. So I really would encourage to ask very due diligent questions before signing on a planner.
okay. Well, that's very good to know. Because I know, like, and this is a completely different industry. Back when I used to do film stuff back in North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
the most and I worked on a lot of independent films, and independent doesn't, it may be free to be the actor, or in my case, the stunt performer
Mm-hmm.
on the show, and even a lot of the volunteer staff. But the two most expensive costs that I ever came across was food and insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And it was insurance on the lighting equipment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Because there was one time, and this one lady allowed us to use her office, and I'm sorry that this happened,
Mm-hmm.
but we were using her office, and we plugged our lights in, and about 20 minutes into it, it blew the circuit board,
Oh my gosh.
which
Wow.
also included the office below us.
Oh,
To another
yeah.
company.
Oh,
Oops, sorry about that.
yeah. Probably costs more than just I'm sorry, right?
Well, it didn't cost anything, but the thing
Yeah.
was, what if that we
Yeah.
were pulling too much power, and it actually burnt the circuit or started a
Yeah.
fire, or that was a few
Yeah.
$100s per day just to have
Mm-hmm.
that insurance.
Yeah. 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 You just never know when you have so many moving parts what's going to happen, right? You
Hmm.
know, and that's why event planning is the fifth most stressful job according to Forbes magazine.
I wonder what the other four are besides
Yeah.
air traffic controller, probably.
I think military is number one, and then I can't remember. Police officer is above meeting planning, of course. I can't remember the rest of them, but yeah, I mean it's and it is a bit stressful because you're like the orchestra leader, right? So you're the orchestra leader, and all your vendors are the pieces of the band, and if one is not in sync with what you're doing, then it's off kilter, right? And that can really snowball. So it's that's one of the reasons why it's a bit of a challenge, is because you're relying on so many other people that have your level of customer service and your level of expertise that you need to, put on a conference or event.
It's one of my best friends has always said, it's like herding cats. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, including the client too.
oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I've had clients where they were due to go on stage and nobody can find them, and they're out smoking. So I had to run and go get them and go, "You're due on stage, like right now." Yeah, so I mean, I could write a book of stories that have happened over the years, but it's pretty funny. But it's a great industry to belong to.
Well, because I'm sure, especially the medium-sized and bigger ones, when it was a successful meeting, it's really self-gratifying. So like, yes, we put that on.
Mhm.
We did that 10,000 person event, or
And truly, that's our end goal, is to make our client be successful and look great in their company's eyes. So that's a win-win for us, for sure. The other things I want to mention that are really important when you're sourcing a planner is they should have a seller's of travel license, and that's through the Department of Justice, and that is required for anyone in our industry. And I would venture to guess probably a lot of planners do not have that. We're also bonded, and that would be important to ask your planner if they're bonded. And we're also a member of the Travel Consumer Restitution Corporation, which means that if for some reason we went bankrupt tomorrow and we had clients that we had deposits for, that they would get reimbursed. So
okay.
those are a couple of other kind of boring things, but important things to consider when you're hiring a planner.
Okay, and I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. Because we're running a little bit long right now. Now, when you were getting started, what were some of your biggest challenges, or that you had to overcome when you were doing this third business?
Yeah. I think some of the biggest challenges were my naivety on how difficult it was to run a business. I managed a hotel, a multi-million-dollar asset. I had 500 employees. I thought a small business, oh, that's so easy. And I was so dead wrong, because you had to do everything.
Yes.
And as a general manager, you had executive managers, you had senior managers, you had supervisors. And by the time anything got to me, all the data was entered. I had to review P&Ls and balance sheets. I didn't have to input it. If I was interviewing somebody, just the top echelon of those people that were interviewed were the people I was interviewing. Capital, making sure you have enough capital, that you have a business plan. These are all things that I just kind of shoot through my hip to thinking it was going to be so easy. And I made every mistake in the book. I had employees stealing from me. I, hired the wrong people. I really didn't know, how to data entry and everything. It's just, I didn't realize how isolated I was as a general manager. I forgot those steps that I had to go through before I became a general manager. So those were really challenging times, but I'm glad that I learned, you grow through it, not go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you learn through those experiences. So I guess that kept us afloat for 24 years. So
Now, is this just your company? Are you a
it
co-owner?
is. No, just mine.
Well, and if you obviously you've been in business for a quarter century, then that's
Mhm.
huge. That's amazing.
Yeah. God, I'm getting old, man. I can't believe it. I started when I was 2, actually, but yeah.
And
Yeah.
would you say would be some of your biggest setbacks that occurred?
Just those things. Just not knowing what I don't know. Obviously, 9/11, the recessions. This industry is dramatically impacted by those things. So it's really cash flow. Really paying attention to cash flow, making sure, and this is a challenge in our industry for planners, is that they have to have a sound business infrastructure, which is very expensive. They have to be really good at logistics, and they also have to be good at sales. And sales and logistics typically aren't compatible because you have to continue to fill your pipeline while you're busy planning and executing a conference. So that's why a lot of planners fail, is that they are good at one or the other, but not both. So those are things to really think about if you're going to start a business, no matter what industry, is where are you going to get the business? How are you going to fill your pipeline? And do you have enough business to sustain yourself?
No, true. Okay. Because a lot of people that are just getting started, they may not have that. They're still on the learning curve. They may even still be working a regular 9 to 5 job and just doing this on the weekend.
Yeah, and I would encourage that, frankly. And there are a lot of people in our industry that are currently working in the hotel industry or working for a visitor and convention bureau that want to go out on their own. And I said, test the market first. Don't go whole hog unless you've got an inheritance, and you don't have to worry about money. Test the market. Number one, make sure that this is what you really want to do. It is a lot of work, a lot of headache, and it's your sole responsibility. Make sure that that's what you want to do and that you're comfortable not drawing a paycheck, because that's the hardest thing to get used to, right?
Right.
So I would encourage people to, just bite off a little bit at a time, and if it's working and you see that you've got the sales that you need to sustain yourself, then go for it, but don't do it right away.
And like you just said there, definitely want to research the market, make sure it's something that you can viably do, and then something that you
Mhm.
can actually be happy with doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just, as many hours as when I was a general manager. I worked a lot of hours. Well, owning your own business, it's the same thing. And, how do you find that balance? How do you work on your business and not in it?
Exactly. And I think somebody told me that like 3 or 4 years ago, and I thought that was one of the biggest revelations out there is,
Mm-hmm.
am I working on my business or am I working in my business? And in many cases, you're doing both.
Yeah. And it's a struggle. It is really a struggle. And then when you start putting the cost of your time associated with the task that you're doing, it really makes you realize, that somebody at a lower pay scale could do what you're doing. And even though you think you do it the best, it's worth training somebody else so that you can move on to working on the business. And that's a struggle for all of us. That's nothing. I'm still struggling all the time with that. And most of us are trying to get out of our own way. So, yeah.
Well, because I'm glad you mentioned that, because let's say if you're a coach and you're charging, say, $100 an hour for your time, then you're doing some really menial stuff. And let's say you could pay somebody $7 an hour, a VA over in China, to do.
Mhm.
Why are you doing the menial job?
Yeah. Exactly. And, you know, and I can't remember who told me this, but I thought I was one of the coaches at Pinnacle, but they said, you know, spend money on a strategist. You know, you need a strategist to help you with your business. You don't need to spend a lot of money on the implementers. So, you know, the people that blog, you know, post your blog or do your social media, you need a strategist to tell those people what to do.
Hmm.
So that really was a revelation to me that you don't need to pay all these people a lot of money. You just need that one person that is going to work with you on the strategy for your business, and then the implementers can be a lot less paid, a lower, you know, pay scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very good advice. At the event, I actually the person I met was Phil, and
Mm-hmm.
and he gave me a formula, and I've only said this once on the show before, and his formula was V as in Victor plus C as in cat equals P as in Paul, and it was visibility plus credibility equals profitability. So you have to be out there in front of people. You have to be
Yes,
doing things that show that you are credible, and then that's when you monetize it.
I like that. Say that again.
V
Visibility,
plus credibility
credibility.
equals profitability.
Love it.
V
That,
plus C equals P,
yeah.
which is to me part of this reason I'm doing this podcast is the V part is visibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
exactly.
by doing the podcast, by having a book written and other things like that, that gives me that credibility. Then,
Yeah.
and then the people and the people that I help again with testimonials and things like
Mm-hmm.
that gives more credibility in the referrals, and that would just lead later down the road to be
Yeah.
more and more profitable.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's, you know, one of the things that I really took away from that conference too, is that, you know, you really need multiple revenue streams. And that's, and I talked to a lot of the people that were looking to do workshops and that kind of thing, and qualifying them, not really qualifying them, but identifying where they were in that process. You know, it really identified for me that I'm going to develop a how-to book, so that, or a how-to program. So if they're not ready to, you know, purchase our services or can't afford that at this point, you know, we can give them a step-by-step. Okay, this is the first thing you do when you want to do a workshop. This is the next thing. You know, be careful of these pitfalls, and so that way we can help them. And you know, they don't have to, you know, pay for a full-time conference planner.
Well, see, I would love to read something like that because I've put together a couple of workshops and the turnout was not as much as I or as many people as I had wanted. However,
Hmm.
I have ideas of other things. But one of the ladies that I follow online is a lady by the name of Colin Rush, and she has her book out there. Is this I think it's called Wealth Through Webinars, but she also does Wealth Through like workshops. It's all about
Hmm.
being in front of the people
Yep.
and building those.
Having your pitch, and yeah, yeah. There's a whole formula, that there really is. And I think that's really important to know. And that's, again, going back to those revenue streams and being smart about what you're doing. So yeah, there is a formula to make it profitable. And not having such high expectations that you'll be so disappointed you'll never do it again if you have a smaller crowd than you expected.
Oh, one of my previous coaches, actually was my book writing coach. He was putting on a workshop, and normally like 5 to 10 people would show up. And this one event, only one person showed up, and he got so discouraged. Like, you know, like, what am I doing? What am I doing?
Hmm.
However, the guy that showed up looked at it as a very positive thing.
Oh yeah,
He
see that
goes,
all the
"I've
time.
got you all to myself. I don't have to share you with another 9 other people."
Yeah, yeah,
So.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he actually got the client. I mean, for his $4,000, $5,000 coaching.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you always want to make sure that you have something to sell, you know,
Mhm.
and what are the next steps, right?
Yeah,
So,
and that's kind of what I'm working on right now. Is on my personal website, or excuse me, my business website, is building up the product base and stuff that I
hmm,
can sell on there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
somebody can buy it overnight, and I don't have this no work out of mine. I just put it together.
Hmm. Yeah.
So as we're about to wrap up here, when you were, I guess, going through this third incarnation, what were some of your biggest fears that you saw that you had to overcome?
Fear of failing
Okay.
was a big one. Fear of where the next, when am I going to get paid next? Where's the next client? Just all of those typical fears that you have. And frankly, I've really realized I need to get out of my own way a lot more. I think that we, as a society, I mean, we are prone to negative thought about ourselves, and that hurts our confidence. And we don't dream big because, oh, how could it be me? So it's like you really need to dream big and think big, and get out of your way with those negative thoughts, and know that you can do it, and know that there's a lot of support out there. So I would encourage that's probably the biggest thing that I have had to learn. And I've been in this 24 years, right? And I had a very successful hotel career, and yet I'm still, oh God, can I do it? Would anybody read anything that I have to say? Or, all those self-doubts. And I'm like, why am I doing that? Because I know this business inside and out, and I know I can be helpful to other people. And that's what I want to do. I want to take that stress off of our clients, because it doesn't need to be like that. There are systems to be in place, things that can be streamline the process to where it's not, when you see people after they've done an event, they're ready for the loony bin. I mean, they're just like, that's, yeah. And we say, now it's time for a post-evaluation. They almost jump off the deep end. So, it can be fun, and it can be interesting. And I just, I'm really, my task and what my passion is to teach people that it's not this big behemoth. There's a lot of moving parts. How can I simplify it for our clients? So.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And where do you see yourself, say, 12 to 24 months from now?
Oh, retired on the Riviera. No, I'm just kidding. I have many revenue streams that I want to produce. I am developing my speaking platform. I do want to go out and speak. I truly want to bring in a operations director that will allow me the freedom to get out more and talk to people and help them. And so I've got several revenue streams that I'm going to be developing in the next 12 to 24 months that will be very beneficial, I think, for potential clients, our clients, as well as build the business. And that's what it's all about, is having a legacy.
Now, have you thought about bringing people up to maybe to your level so you can not be as involved, or is it still your baby? Or
No, no. I mean, that's why I was looking at a director of operations or a chief of staff, so to speak. Somebody that can follow my day-to-day operations, which will allow me the freedom to not be so involved. I mean, obviously, I want to be involved, but I think my skill set is really working on the business and the image, the vision, the growth, the revenue streams that can be created. And that's where truly I want to spend my time, because I see so much potential in building this business after 24 years. So I'm really, really excited about that.
Oh, okay. And now, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you or wanted to contact you, what is the best way that they can contact you? You have a website or a Facebook page or a business page or something like that?
Oh, we have all that. But the website is www.ctc and then the word conferences.com. So it's CTC and then two C's, right? They missed that one. So it's CTC and then the word conferences.com. And then my email is Michelle with two L's, Michelle. That's Michelle at CTC and the word again, conferences.com.
Okay, so that's
and I'd love to hear from your audience. I mean, if they need help, if they need a quick question answered, I'm more than happy to do that for them.
okay. And I may be reaching out to you hopefully sooner than later. on on the conference and stuff. Also, if you're about to be putting together a book on doing the workshops and things like that, or even if it's in a blog, that is definitely something I would like to take.
Yeah, I definitely, I haven't started that yet, but I built the outline. So I think everybody's asking for it, so I better get on the stick and
Well,
get that done.
you've got demand, you got pre-sales right now.
I know, I do. Gosh, okay. I'm just to post it and start selling it. That'll force me to get it done, right?
Well,
Yeah. In the meantime, I'm happy to consult, but I am going to get that done. That's first priority.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, Michelle, it's been amazing having you here. I mean, when we met at the Allison event, I definitely wanted to talk with you. When I first looked at Coast to Coast, the first thing I saw when I looked at your card was, "Oh, this is a trucking company." But then I said, "No, it's
Oh,
just."
really? Oh my gosh. Nobody's ever said that before.
Well, because I have another lady friend, and she does. I think Coast to Coast might be in her name as well.
Oh,
She
okay.
does is for employment services,
Okay.
so
Oh,
she's
funny.
like a headhunter.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So,
Well,
but anyway,
we'll be rebranding again, I'm sure, in the future. So we'll take that in consideration.
No, but yeah, I mean, I've learned so much. I've learned so much from you today. This has been phenomenal, and I do want to say thank
Oh,
you for being
great.
on the show. I mean, because I'm in an industry that would be using your services here in the near
Mhm.
future. I mean,
Yes. Yeah. And that's why I chased you down. I actually chased you down
I
to
know
the
you did.
conference.
You did.
I did, Kevin. I knew I had to know you for some reason.
Well, we'll definitely become friends on Facebook and possibly LinkedIn as well. I'll look for you in there and send you requests and things.
Yeah,
And
I do have a Facebook and I do have LinkedIn. So, I mean, definitely if you'd like to connect with me, I'm more than happy to do that.
okay, no, I definitely will. I think I actually already sent you a friend request right before the interview here on Facebook, so I just have to do it on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So again, I want to say thank you for being here. Or is there
Yeah.
any last words that you have for the audience, the viewers out there, or even the people who are listening to this on the podcast?
No, just follow your passion and be smart at it.
Okay, follow your passion and be smart. Fantastic. I also want to say I just actually launched this today. This is for the audience out there. I am offering a discount on the coaching services. So if you go to the kevinadunlap.com website and if you click on the 30-minute consultation and you type in the coupon consult and then the number 0, that will actually give you a free 30-minute consultation call as well. So
Oh, great deal.
I just created that coupon literally 2 hours ago. So it is now live on our website, and
So take advantage of that.
take advantage of that. Absolutely. If you
You
want
know
to,
that if I could say that is one thing I wish, that is one regret that I have, is that I did not get a business coach earlier on.
yes.
Um, this is my first experience with a business coach, and whether it's paying for a business coach or getting a great price like what Kevin's offering, the SBDC has free consulting, so I would encourage you as you're building your business plan to reach out to SCORE or SBDC. Those are all free services for you. And they're in a lot of the major cities all around the country. But that would be a great help as well.
Now I've heard of SCORE through the Small Businesses Association, the
Mhm.
SBA. Is SBDC has it been rebranded or is this for
No,
something?
they're two separate organizations, but they do similar things. They have business consultants that are there that you can set up appointments and talk through your strategy, your business or marketing. Their consultants have different skill sets. So whatever your need is, more than likely they will have a consultant. And these are mostly I would say retired business people, although there's still people that are still in the working arena. Um, but that their passion is to teach other business people and making sure that they are following the right systems and everything to make their business successful. So I would encourage you to do that as well as take Kevin up on his offer, his discount.
Okay. Well, thank you for that shout out there, and SBDC and SCORE
Uh-huh. And
organization.
SCORE. Hmm.
myself, I have spoken to SCORE before, and that was years ago. I was doing my real estate investment company, so it's
Mm-hmm.
probably a good time for me to reach out there as well because I'm growing. I know I could use some guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I do is I do have 2 accountability partners as well that I call on a weekly basis.
That's important too. Have
So,
a mentor. Yeah.
yes, a mentor. That's actually the next thing I'm looking for is the mentor, and the mentor could be somebody from SCORE. You never know.
Yeah. Well, and if you've already established a business, a couple other things I would recommend, if I may, Kevin,
Sure.
I know we're running off time, is Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Initiative. And that is a scholarship-driven program done through Goldman Sachs, it's a mini, I want to say it's a mini master's entrepreneurial program, and it's 4 months, and it's every other Friday and Saturday. You're in class, and you're building your growth plan, but you have wonderful professors. They're through Babson College, is involved with that, which is a graduate school, and it's just a wonderful program to help further scale your business. You have to have a business already in place, but there's no cost. You have to apply and you will be interviewed. But I would really encourage people to apply to that. As well as there's several other, organizations, leadership organizations like Leadership Long Beach, where I am at, that teach you leadership skills. Look at what those opportunities are that aren't going to cost a lot of money to help develop your personal growth as well.
Okay, and the Goldman Sachs, what was the rest of that? Goldman Sachs 10,000?
It's called Goldman Sachs 10KSB, which is 10,000 Small Business Initiative. And so Goldman Sachs has committed to taking 10,000 small business CEOs through this program. And I think the last time I looked, it's all over the country. And I want to say they've taken maybe 7,000. In fact, they're having an alumni conference next week in Washington, D.C. So, and there's one in Long Beach at Long Beach City College. There's one in LA. I think it's at the LA College. But go on their website and you can see where those locations are. But it's free. It's probably a $35,000-$40,000 investment for Goldman Sachs, but it's no cost to the CEO. So that's a great program.
Okay. Well, you heard it from her. She gave you some great advice there. She said the Goldman Sachs 10K Small Business or SB initiative, and it meets for 4 months, basically a little more than a quarter, on a bi-weekly basis on a Friday and Saturday as well.
Yeah. As somebody said, somebody asked me to participate several times, and I'm going, well, I don't have time. And they go, you don't have time to work on your business? And I'm like, oh, well, if you say it that way, never mind. I'll apply.
Well, that's the whole thing with coaching and getting this education is you've got people that have already been there, done that, and therefore it shortens your learning curve.
Yes, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of stuff out there. Mm-hmm. You just don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Yep, exactly. Now you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, Michelle, again, I want to say thanks again. Thanks you for that great information. So for all you listeners that stayed all the way to the end of the show here, you've got some gold gems right here. So I do want to say thank you for sharing that with us today, Michelle. And well, I guess for now, we're just going to go ahead and say goodbye to everybody. And again, it was great having you on the show again.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you for allowing me to talk with your audience here. And please reach out to me if you have any questions.
Oh, I sure will. And reach out to me once you have that workbook done.
Yes, I will. You're on my list.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Life's Little Lessons with your host, author of Designing Your Own Destiny, Kevin A. Dunlap. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit kevinadunlap.com, facebook.com/kevinadunlap.author, and on Twitter @Kevin A. Dunlap. We'll catch you on the next episode of Life's Little Lessons.